Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Twisted Joys, written by lazycatkami. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin. Prologue. Izuku's POV. My eyes open slowly and I blink as I try to take in my surroundings. Everything feels dry. My mouth feels dry, my skin feels papery, my eyes feel dry. I look before me with an excited gaze and see if it worked. My house is on fire, a smoldering beacon in the dark depth of night. There's already sounds of urgency coming from the next-door neighbors as they rush to evacuate out of their houses and call. I can hear sirens coming from somewhere far away in the city and I pick myself up from the grassy lawn and dust myself off. There's ash and dirt and grass all over my shirt and pajama pants. I keep staring at my burning house and at first I look conflicted before my eyes widen into a large smile and I look like a deranged psychopath as I start laughing quietly before I double over into fits of hysterical laughter before I look up at my burning house and my dead parents in it and whisper. I win. I win, Mom and Dad. My house crumbles down into wooden remains and I continue laughing so hard I start crying. I don't know how long I'm there joyfully crying until paramedics and the firefighters pull up to my house. I hear someone whispering incoherent words to me trying to get me to stand up and head into the ambulance and firefighters work to calm the fire. Someone feels my pulse before slipping over an oxygen mask over my face and I feel the pressure on my lungs relieve slightly. I let myself be dragged away from the fire still crying joyful tears before I'm driven away to the hospital. Someone rubs my back the entire ride to the hospital as I continue to cry. Paramedics. POV. We received the call of a fire at a neighborhood house at 1 a.m. and everyone bustles around as we get in order and respond to the emergency as fast as we can. Once we arrive we see a boy of around maybe 6 or 7 sitting before his burning house crying his eyes out. His green hair is matted and his eyes are a dull green as tears continue to spill out of his eyes. I immediately go to his side and try to whisper him comforting words and try to coax him to the ambulance. He doesn't seem to hear me as he continues in his bowed position crying. I quickly scan his body and gently pull one of his arms up and feel his pulse. Everything looks okay and his pulse is stable and I deem this boy to have nothing that looks like a life-threatening injury. I slip an oxygen mask over his face and seeing as how he doesn't seem injured I finally decide to gently grab his wrist and pull him up to his feet before leading him to the ambulance. There's no need to use the cot of the ambulance and I sit him down on a seat before buckling him in. I gently rub his back as sobs continue to rack his body and I hope for his sake that his parents are alive as we drive to the hospital. From what the fire and the situation looked like for the brief second I saw it, it didn't look like this boy's parents would survive but I prayed for a miracle for this boy. Izuku's POV. I'm ushered into an emergency room and a nurse fusses over me before checking stuff onto a checkerboard and hooking that onto the hospital cot. She leaves the room for a little while. I sit on a chair not wanting to get the white sheets of the bed dirty and I wait for a doctor. There's shuffling outside of the door before a doctor enters the room. I read her name tag and it says Fujisake Misaki. It appears you managed to escape the fire but I want to see if there's any damages to your lungs or breathing. She says and I nod silently. Is there anywhere that hurts? My chest. I say pointing to myself. Anywhere else? She asks and I shake my head. Dr. Fujisake uses her stethoscope to feel around my chest and back listening to my heartbeat before asking me to open my mouth. It seems that you have some throat irritation, your heart is fine but from what I can hear you have a slight wheeze and you probably have some chest pains or tightness and visibly you have a little eye irritation. I blink up at her in a dazed way. Am I going to die? I asks and she smiles faintly. No, you will not. We'll hospitalize you for a couple of days here and make sure you drink a lot of water, take a steamy shower. The humidifier will help add moisture to the air you breathe. I'll even add a humidifier in your room. You can even salt water gargle to soothe your irritated throat a little bit. Or eat cough drops. Make sure you use these eye drops I'll have the nurse bring for you and get rest, okay? I nod up at her and she stands up before exiting the room and calling in the previous nurse. Here sweetie, we're going to be moving you to a different patient ward, okay? She says and I nod again. I follow her before I arrive at another room, and this time there's a separate room with what the nurse tells me is a bathroom with a shower. She leaves the room saying she'll bring back my eye drops, cough drops, some salt and a humidifier. I head into the bathroom and quickly strp my sticky, ashy clothes off my body. I turn on the shower and step in quickly. The water goes from cold to warm as I stand there staring at the wall. My parents were sleeping when I'd thrown their alcohol and whatever oils we had all over the house and then lit a match and dropped it. I was out of the house by the time there was a large eruptions of fire as the match came in touch with the alcohol and oil. So I'd managed to escape most of the harm. I start to laugh in the shower again as water streams down my body and I curl my hands into an angry fist before I breathe out and start to clean myself. There's a clean hospital gown on the sink and I step out and slip into it before waddling over to the bed and pulling the covers up to my chin. An idea hits me and I pick up the clipboard the nurse slipped onto the bottom board of the hospital bed. My information is written on it: my name, Izuku Midoriya, my age of 10 years old, my parents and their address and number. Then there's the list of my symptoms and treatments. I feel bored again and flop back onto my bed. I stare up at the white ceilings and the blinding lights and feel a sense of relief settle over me. I escaped. I tell myself as my hands trace the scars over my body. I escaped them. Chapter 1. 4 years later, Izuku's POV. Growing up in an abusive environment for years of my life led me to have a high pain tolerance. After I turned 4, my dad just straight up neglected me. He rarely came home, choosing to stay away in hotels or staying at other women's houses. My mother knew all of this, and ever since I was diagnosed quirkless at 4, her resentment at me grew. She knew it was my fault and the fact that I was quirkless that disgusted my father. She knew of the other women he chose to spend his nights with and how he dealt himself in work instead of returning home. The only decent thing he did was send money back for our food and life. My mother knew that I was the problem and that because I was quirkless I had no purpose or use in real life. She did her best at first, thinking that maybe I would grow up to be useful to her. But over time the denial faded away and the neglect ate away at her. She tried to kill me one night when I was sound asleep and felt a presence atop of me, and my eyes snapped open and I saw my mother crying as she held a knife above me. I had called out to her that night with a soft, "Mama," and she'd stopped in her tracks and started muttering about how she wished she wasn't my mother. The knife did cut something that night and it had neatly sliced off the tip of my finger. I was lucky. The little chunk I lost was able to grow back, and all I have to remember of that night is a slightly crooked finger. She didn't try to kill me after that. Maybe she thought that I was still her son and that no matter what she did she couldn't bring herself to kill me when she brought me into this world herself. So instead my dear mother turned to a more physical, emotional, and mental sort of abuse. She'd have a spout of silence, where she would just ignore my existence for weeks and I'd be forced to fend for myself, cooking my own meals or stealing money from her to buy food. Or days where she would get mad at me and constantly tell me that it was all my fault. That my existence was hurting her, while she dropped down crying huge waterfalls of tears. She would tell me that she was hurting because of me, or she would ask me what was my existence worth. But most of the time she was negligent, and when she saw me she'd throw stuff at me with her quirk or bare hands. It could be a pillow, a knife, or a glass bottle when she started drinking. Literally anything. I've had it all. Sometimes when it got bad she locked me into a closet and cry on the other side of the door asking why over and over again. She would start laughing and say that I was a mistake and that everything was a mistake. I have scars from when she stopped throwing stuff and started stabbing and slicing as her eyes changed from sad to insane. She started to tell me that I deserved this and that this was the purpose of my life. Dad came home occasionally, and when I turned 10 with a body ridden full of scars I finally decided, well, F it all, and burned down the house. Originally I wanted to kill even just my mom, so it was a bonus that they were both in it and that they both died, the firefighters finding their burned bodies in the fire. I was then moved to an orphanage. At the orphanage the adults chose to ignore me and the other kids either picked on me or ignored me. I grew up there for another 2 years until I was 12 with a fresh assortment of scars from different quirks of my bullies before I decided that I would just run away. Burning down the orphanage felt like a lot of work, and if people saw that I was the only survivor again of a burning building, they might get suspicious. My house burning down was eventually concluded to be a faulty gas leak that caused the fire. I had thought ahead of time and had broken a gas pipe running outside my house as a cover. Now 2 years after all that hellish time at the orphanage, I was finally doing fine without too much pain in my life. I'd managed to find an abandoned warehouse and settle myself comfortably. I started off with pretty much nothing. Just the clothes on the back and some other clothing and belongings I'd stolen from the orphanage. I'm not legally allowed to work until I turn 15, but there are plenty of underhand jobs that don't require any legal information, and they turn a blind eye to your situation as long as you're willing to do the work. And they pay in cash so that they can't be tracked down. One of these jobs was mostly cleaning factories after hours. Usually from about 1 a.m. to 5 in the morning I cleaned this small family-owned factory that paid me about $7,500 a day, $750 without counting current-day conversion units. It was good pay, they didn't ask questions, and it was simple work. I wouldn't say the family was evil because it employed an underage worker like me. I would in fact say that this family saved me when they gave me a job. If they hadn't been willing to pay a crazy underage kid that wanted to work, I would have starved a long time ago. With this job I managed to keep food on the table while working every night and studying during the day. I saved up eventually to buy a computer and a phone, and I managed to hack my way through multiple internet servers before I secured my own protected line. It was a couple-week-long project, but in the end it ended up with me leeching off of others' internet while my program protected me from getting tracked by the government. This isn't possible, I looked it up, but Logic PLS, it was a while before my life finally stabilized and I caught up with all my studies and surpassed what I would probably be learning if I was still at school. I was walking from the convenience store back to my home one afternoon in the spring after I ran away from the orphanage when I was attacked by a villain. I was expecting it to come sooner or later. Almost 1 in every 3 people in this city has had some sort of experience with a villain at some point in their lives. The sludge villain came out of a manhole as I was crossing under a bridge, and there was no one around as he pulled me deeper into the shadows, covering one of my mouths with a slimy limb. Finally, an extra small-sized body. Do you know how hard it is to find the size you like? It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. Literally. This body size is so small it's hard to even see you. The villain continues rambling and I stay there comfortably against the wall. I mean, as long as my food wasn't messed up and still edible at the end of the day, I wasn't too mad. Hey kid, are you listening? The villain asks me and I nod my head. So you wanna let me take over and stuff, or you wanna just have me kill you and then take over your body? I shrug. Oh DMN, are you suicidal kid? The villain says, grimacing and loosening his grip against my mouth a little bit. I'm able to talk a little bit before I say, not really. Maybe. I mean, we're all going to die eventually. I don't really care if it's sooner because life is so boring, but maybe if I could make my life a little more fun I could care a little more. You want to talk about it? The sludge says, letting me go completely. I mean, I can always find a new body anyways. Yeah, I mean, maybe go for a medium or something. I laugh as I slide onto the ground and the sludge melts into a little puddle next to me. Thanks for letting me go like that. I say. Well, we all have problems, kid. I guess maybe I just wasn't feeling like an extra small today. The villain says, throwing a lopsided smile at me. Sometimes it helps to talk it out. I sit there for a while before I start talking. In that shade with someone who maybe understood what I was feeling, I let some of my story wisp into the air. I'm a quirkless kid. I start with a sigh. My dad thought I was useless and spent his days away from me and my mom, working and spending his nights with other women. And my mom blamed me, and at first she would hurt me and be confused about it, but eventually she got over that, I guess, and she just cold-heartedly came after me like I was a punching bag for her to vent her anger on. Maybe she thought of me as an alien or foreign creature that she gave BRTH to, but still felt some sort of lingering maternity. Whatever it is, she didn't kill me, only she left me with this crooked finger and a body for scars. I got fed up and, well, let's just say I don't see them anymore. I went to an orphanage thinking it was better, but it was the same, so I've run away and work I've been doing fine on my own until I ran into you. That's dark, kid. The villain says, moving his puddle closer to me before forming a blob-like shape to pat me awkwardly. I mean, I may be a villain, but even I would never do something like that to my own kid. I look upwards at the bridge with a bitter laugh. You know, I used to want to be a hero. Just like my dad or like All Might. But nothing changes. The heroes say they're here to save people. Why couldn't they save people like me then? No matter where I go or what I do, it's always the same. It's like there's an invisible divide separating me and what the others called a friend or a family. I've run into many heroes before and asked them to help change the way things work. I've petitioned with some others to change laws to protect quirkless more or increase education and equality around those with quirks and those without. But nothing has changed at all. When I was a kid. The villain starts after I pause, offering a piece of his story to me. The others would stay away. I had no physical body after I developed my quirk. I'm a mutant type and my body has always been this way. One day an elderly lady had collapsed on the road and I wanted to help her across the street before a truck hit her. I had activated my quirk and slid into her body before moving myself or her, I guess, across the street in time. I exited her body, but the others called me a villain when she didn't wake up. That was my first time taking someone's body and I didn't know that it would turn out like that. When the police came, I explained that I only wanted to help. That's all I've ever wanted, to help out and fit in. I was ignored and I've spent the last couple of years in jail because of what they counted as a committed act of murder. But when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to use or train my quirk because people viewed occupying others' bodies or being a slime nasty or villain-like. That was why I didn't know that's what I could do, and that was the drawbacks of my ability. Nobody cared about that though, and while I was in jail I vowed that I wouldn't try to fit in. There was no point anymore. I already committed the worst act. What use was it pretending like I was like others? That I was normal. Something would happen again and I would be blamed again. So now I live happily as a villain. I sigh. I used to want to be a hero. A hero sounded so cool, you know, out of a comic, a protagonist, the main character, someone others could rely on and trust. But I don't need to be a hero if they can't even save people who are in need the most. A villain may sound bad, heroes may make it sound like we're monsters, kid. But most of the time we're just people trying to live our lives now that we don't fit in. There would be no heroes without villains, and we wouldn't be called villains without heroes. The sludge says. Well, I hope your situation gets better. I'm sorry I couldn't stay too long. You know, being a villain is busy and all, and I have to go get a new body soon so that I can eat and buy stuff. The villain waves a little sludge-slime hand at me before sinking back down into his manhole. I sit there thinking and laughing. I rub my face with my hands. He was right. I was something different. A monster is maybe what the heroes would call me. So why was I trying to fit in? Why was I trying to pretend that everything was okay and that I was normal? I laugh some more. No, I never wanted to be a hero. I knew they couldn't, wouldn't save me. I laugh until I start crying, and with bright radioactive green eyes that are bright again I look at my hands. Stop playing a wolf in sheep's skin, Izuku. You're normal. This is normal. Chapter 2. Sorry you guys for the delayed update. My ribs suddenly started hurting and it hurt to move and breathe. Smiley face. Today's better, but the back of my knee hurts, so what's happening anymore? Izuku's POV. I had 11 months until I could enroll into UA. Why was I enrolling? Well, walking home with my bag full of groceries after an insightful conversation with a slime monster. I realized I didn't really care if I died or lived as long as it was fun. And what would be more fun than to torment my childhood friend turned bully? I was friends with a spiky blonde by the name of Katsuki Bakugu, and ever since I could remember we were always friends and together. At 4, though, our friendship changed slightly once he learned I was quirkless. The stress on my mom ended up with both our moms drifting apart. I wasn't bullied until I started school when I was 5 and Katsuki turned a new leaf and decided to be my other physical and emotional tormentor. So what would be more fun than to get back at him? I mean, I already got my parents and dealing with the orphanage kids was more effort than it was worth. So Bakugu it was. Call me a villain, but I don't want to be bored anymore. So I have 11 months until I apply to UA. I have 11 months to kidnap and kill and test on people. I want to know how to increase my basic strength. I don't want a quirk, no, I want to see the heroes' precious faces when they realize they've been outsmarted by a quirkless 14-year-old emotionally unstable kid. Maybe I'd take a photo and frame it in my room. I smile as I perch from atop an apartment rooftop looking down at the side entrance. I was waiting for my target to arrive home. It's the second day I've stalked this person and I'm sure that yesterday he raped a young woman. I would have stopped him, but I was scouting the streets for a victim when I saw him walk out of a dark alley and I could hear the sobs of a woman in the alley. I'd peeked at her condition and offered her some assistance and tried to make her feel safer, but she obviously didn't feel comfortable around another dude, and I ended up telling her to take care of herself before leaving to tail the guy. The perfect deserving victim indeed. I'm sure nobody will miss him if I just borrow him for some tests. I hear easy steps as the mid-30s slightly balding man walks up the steps to the side door of the apartment complex. He whistles easily as he twists and maneuvers his keys into the lock. I drop down silently, my green eyes flashing a blur as they never leave the man's neck as I drop down and inject using something called propofol that you could buy 200 millimeters of anesthesia, and it works in 40 seconds for about $2,500 to $5,900, $25 to $59 US, at a pharmacy. Please, this isn't actually a real thing. Adfafest I never gave you ideas. I hold him securely as he loses consciousness and he foams a little at the mouth, and I drag him down the steps to a little cart I have waiting for me. It's called a trolley dolly. It's a grocery cart, the type you see older people use when they go shopping at a market. I unzip the top and pull out a large bag, which I turn the man into a little more compact position, i.e., a fetal position, then I cram him into my cart. Based on Google, this could also work, but with considerable damage to the person. I expect muscle tearing. I drag him outside onto the streets and swipe his apartment keys before I go. Maybe I'll have a good look around later. I return to my warehouse and tie the man onto a metal pole and in an uncomfortable position for him before I drag over an old metal cart with different vials on it. There are 5 other people all tied up to their respective poles. Some of them were cheaters from what I understood, some were abusive, all were my perfect subjects. I smile happily as I hum and get to work with my testing. 5 months later, after about 30 test subjects with 25 of them dying and the difficult process of discarding bodies, I finally managed to get the results I wanted. I wanted enhanced speed, strength, agility, and flexibility, and based on my testing I figured out it was probably best to have a good muscle-to-weight ratio. And then, along with the use of XXX that permanently gave you a large boost of energy. Think of Shimmer and its permanent effects from Arcane. Basically, Shimmer just enhances a lot of your natural traits. It's addictive. XXX is not addictive because it's not LOL. Anyways, Shimmer can be used to permanently change your body too. Sorry, I don't know how else to explain this. I kill off the remaining of my test subjects and discard them by dumping them randomly around town. I was going to be a villain after all, so why should I care what I did with the body? Hey. Some pro heroes call out to me as they see my silhouette on a roof and I'm carry someone by their arm as I swing them down into the alley and drop them. There's a splat and one of the heroes vomit, and I let my eyes glow a little stronger as I smile at them. Yo, you villain. Stop right where you are. I laugh maniacally, doubling over, and they watch horrified. I make my voice a little deeper as I say, ha. Oh my god, this is so funny. Heroes, is it? I'm just doing your job for you and I'm helping make society a better place. These trash just need to be cleaned. They stare at me with big round eyes. I casually sway at the edge of the rooftop. Trash should always be taken out, no. Anyways, you should be thanking me for doing your job for you. It's easier like this, isn't it? To call me a villain and pretend like you have a purpose when you can't save those who actually need it. You want to save people from villains. I lean over the rooftop and hiss, then stop creating them. Oh look, I'm a busy person and you're clearly not seeing how helpful I've been lately. Anyways, bye. Let's see each other never. I say casually as I walk away. I return to my warehouse where I quickly inject myself with XXX. After a while I can feel my tired eyes widen and I feel a sudden influx of energy through my body. I'd also been training my body this past 5 months, so I had a good toned but slim body. I laugh insanely as I flex my fingers. Oh, this was way better than any dumb quirk I could create. I smile again. The only downside was my eyes would always glow a bit brighter than normal, but contacts could fix that. I laugh. Here I come, Kaken. Chapter 3 Izuku's POV. For the next couple of months until UA applications came out, I prepared to the best of my ability. If you didn't know me, you would have thought I was dying to be a hero. I made money cleaning, I practiced fighting and fought in underground matches. I killed more people and I started to take their money too. Just so I wouldn't feel bored and I didn't like them too much. I studied even harder and finally came the day of exams. I woke up early in the morning at 7 o'clock after 2 hours of sleep and I stretch awake. I stumble to my kettle and the thing I call a stove in a room of my warehouse and boil some water. The warehouse is pretty big and I use a little storage room as my living area. There's a bed and a stove attached to a generator and a mini fridge. Along my bed were ratty old desks with computers I'd bought and I stacked a bunch of notes in a corner. I pour myself a cup of instant coffee before I look for an outfit. I pick out a brown jacket over a white t-shirt and some baggy jeans using a mirror and a tank of water over a tub. I wash my face and brush my teeth and I have a quick sip of coffee before I wince when it burns my tongue. I start my basic makeup using concealer to hide my freckles and to cover my eye bags. I slip on some brown contacts and I box dye my hair brown quickly. I pull on a beanie to cover my fluffy hair and grab a pair of fake glasses and put that on before I grab my black boots and my black shoulder bag. I gulp down my coffee before I dash out of the house. It's about 8:30 when I leave and exams start at 9:15 at UA. I make sure to have my phone, wallet, and some notebooks along with a bottle of water before I start walking. 2 nights ago I'd created a new identity for myself since Izuku was considered missing and most likely dead. My new name was Shinichiro Akita and I shared a birthday as Izuku because I was too lazy to change it, and there's so many people that having the same birthday as a missing person would be pretty normal. I stepped through the gates of UA and stopped to breathe deeply as if I was settling my nerves. Hey there, are you nervous? A cheerful voice calls out from behind me. I turn around and see a spiky red-haired boy smiling at me with sharp teeth. Nervous? I say with a shy laugh and a duck of my head. No. No, I'm not nervous, I'm just trying to fix my personality and slip into my cute innocent act. Forgive my temporary pause as I literally reinvent myself. You know, normal everyday things. Don't worry bro, I'm sure you'll do fine. You will be one manly dude. The shark boy says with a pointy-toothed smile. I mean, it's pretty manly to be nervous, especially right now. Realizing he was rambling, the kid reaches out a hand awkwardly. My name is Kirishima. Eijiro Kirishima. I mentally roll my eyes. I wasn't here to make friends, but if that was going to help with the cover, why not? Wow, my name is Shinichiro Akita. I say, sticking my hand out too with a sickly smile. Ugh, this personality was making me mentally GG. But seeing their priceless reactions would be worth it. Yeah. That's such a manly name. Kirishima says awkwardly once we're done shaking hands. Anyways, good luck on the exams. He says cheerfully before he leaves. Ha. I say, shaking my head amusedly, naive people these days. I keep walking and I hear a group of girls walking to their class and gossiping to each other. Have you heard there's a new villain? Really, what? That's so scary, I feel there's always new ones popping up. Oh, I've heard about that. Apparently they've found bodies all over the city. The kill count right now is up to 50, and the thing is every person this killer has killed has been some sort of some. So people have dubbed him a name. Oh yeah, they're calling him the Twisted Reaper. I smirk mentally. Twisted Reaper didn't sound too bad, a bit cliché, but I was also too busy to think of something better. I walk past the girls and enter the main hall, where I sit in a chair with a desk before me. Seats soon fill out, and there's a bird boy to my right and a French kid to my left. I ignore them both and I take out my notebook and pretend I like to draw and that I'm just shy. Present Mike steps up onto the stage 15 minutes later, and I've already sketched out a rough form of someone smiling insanely down at me before I slam my notebook. I pretended a little too good. I turn my attention to whatever the loud pro hero has to say. There's about 300 people in the audience, and at the end only 40 will make it into the heroes course and another 60 would make it to the general education course. Thousands more had already applied, but everyone sitting here were the ones who were picked to attend the exam. Yeah. Present Mike shrieks and everyone shuts up to listen. Hello everyone and good morning. Thank you all for attending today's exam, and I will now explain how this will go. I pretend to go into fan shock and start muttering off random facts about Present Mike, and when people start to look at me funny I shut up with a fake blush by holding my breath. There will be a written exam and a practical test based on your results. You might be accepted into this school. Yeah. Present Mike says, and multiple ectoplasm clones start handing out exam forms and pencils. There was about 450 questions on basic laws and other school topics. I was through the test in an hour and a half, and I shuffle around in my seat and pretend to look worried before checking my answers continuously. A girl with dark black hair up in a ponytail stands up and turns her form in, and there's a sharp intake of breath from the other students who are in awe. I wait a little bit longer until a boy with navy blue hair and rectangle glasses turns in his exam too. Then waiting a bit longer I stand up and pretend to be fidgety and nervous, even though I know I got the perfect 88% score on the exam. I mean, I could have gotten a 100 probably, except I missed a couple questions on purpose. After all, the highest grade someone got was a 100%, but that was Nizu's score and he was the only one to get that score. The highest a student got was a 95%, so an 88 would be good but not too good. After I turn in my test I shuffle out of the main hall and I roam around the campus until I buy myself another cup of coffee from a vending machine. The tests are all turned in about an hour later, and Present Mike introduces the next exam. The practical test. You will gain points by eliminating these robots. The more robots you destroy, the better your score will be. 3-point robot will equal 3 points and 0-pointers 0 points. The 0-pointers are indestructible, so do not try to defeat them. Present Mike say before ectoplasm and his clones hand out a lot of devices that we are instructed to stick to our shoulders. This will help us keep track of who is scoring what points. Present Mike says after leading the examees to a gate before a small city. Alright, begin. He shrieks and the gate slides open and 300 contestants start rushing into the city. From rumors I heard the practical exam had about 600 points worth of robots and there was 10 0-pointers. I'm one of the last contestants and I recall the psychological studies I've read about. People tend to deviate to the right and stay near the entrance or the center with the innate feeling safe near an entrance or where a lot of other people are. They then gradually spread out, but to get somewhere no one will be, I head to the left side of the city as far away from the entrance as I can. Due to my late night killings I was more accustomed to seeing from atop a rooftop, but for the sake of preserving my image I stay on the street. I come across a 1-pointer which I easily destroy by cutting its wires and joints before I stab its brain, heart, and center piece efficiently before I crush the rest of the pieces under my foot. I take down 2 3-pointers, 4 2-pointers and 5 1-pointers this way. I spot another 3-pointer in a dark alley and I dash hover and slap a bomb on it from my pocket before I use the wall and flip over, twisting through the robot's arms that were swinging downwards to where I was standing a moment before. I land on the other side of the robot and roll a bit further away before my bomb goes off and some bits of robot and oil rain down from the air. I quickly pull an umbrella out of my shoulder bag and open it to protect my clothes and body with a grumble. I was at 22 points right now. And I keep hunting for robots. The 45-minute alarm goes off and in the end I only manage to find 3 more 2-pointers and 2 more 3-pointers along with 1 more 1-pointer and I head back to the entrance. Which places me at a total of 5 3-pointers, 6 2-pointers, and 6 1-pointers. 5 3, plus, 6 2, plus, 6 1, 15 plus 12 plus 6 21 plus 12 33 so I managed to get a total of 33 points. Doing math online is hardly. The average score was about 25 so I felt okay with my current score. I mean I wasn't trying too hard and I didn't want to stand out too much. It was 2:30 by the time I got home and after I remove my makeup and contacts I take a 3-hour nap until I have to go to the underground ring and my cleaning job before I call it a day. Chapter 4 Izuku's POV. It's another 2 weeks until the school year is over. In Japan school ends sometime in March and start again in April, and the UA acceptance letters are sent out and mine arrives in the mailbox of the apartment of one of my test subjects. The guy who I stole his apartment keys. I managed to sneak on his address since I didn't have one of the more risky moves I'd made but an effective one now that I didn't get caught. I retrieve my letter and open it when I get back to my little room in the warehouse. There's a little holographic device which flares to life and I plaster on an airhead excited look to my face quickly. Just in case there was a camera attached to the device. Hello there young Akita Kun. All Might booms and I wince. I'd run into All Might once before I killed my parents and when I asked him if I could be a hero, he told me that I perhaps would be more suited to being a police or detective or doctor instead. He basically told me no without telling me no. And to be honest I wished he would have just told me no instead. It was useless to give a useless kid like me some sort of hope that maybe I could be a hero. Whatever. I've grown out of that old shell now, his no hurt but not as much anymore. You have been accepted into UA's hero course and will be enrolled in class 1A, your ranking in your class is 11th place out of 20 students. All Might finishes happily. I slide the device back into the envelope and slide that envelope into a desk drawer just in case and I wrap it in some old clothes just in case there's a mic on it. 11th place was perfect. I wanted to be just average. Nothing should stick out too much about me. I laugh quietly. Oh how I can't wait to go to school again. Some sort of time skip. I'm finally putting on my school uniform that was again shipped to the fake apartment address. I apply my makeup thoroughly, having Reeboks dyed my hair brown again yesterday. I put in my contacts and slip on my glasses. Over the break I earned more money at fights before I quit my cleaning job and started to fight less at the underground ring. The underground ring worked like levels of a video game. And once you defeat each boss of each level you would move up 1 level. Currently I managed to reach all the way to the top after about a year of fighting. I wore a mask and no one could tell who I was and heroes started becoming curious at the aspect of an undefeated champion for a month now. I was called the Masked Executioner down there. Another cliché name but then again it took a lot of effort to change my names. My death count went from 50 to 600 kills and I was taking some of my victims' money before I used that to buy a small 1-room apartment. I moved in and changed my address and was a little more stable before I started school again. I lock my door as I leave my house before I grin and my eyes flash green under my brown contacts and then I'm off to UA. It's easy to find my classes and I already checked social media so I know Bakugu is in the same class as me. 1A. Which means I got really lucky. My plan would probably still be the same, revenge. But it probably tastes 10x sweeter this way. Discussions about the Twisted Reaper also seem to be at an all-time high these days now that I've been killing more people. Pro heroes like Hawks were now on the lookout for me too. I pass the gates of UA and enter one of the 4 tall glass pillar buildings and I climb up the stairs until I get to my floor and my classroom. Each classroom had its own floor seeing as how UA had a lot of space and a lot of floors. Each floor also had its own working bathroom. And the classrooms themselves were known to be big and comfortable. I slide open the doors to my class and open my eyes in a dramatic way as if I was internally fanboying. I duck my head in the most cute shy way I can and hurry to my seat in the middle of the classroom. The absolute most normal seat ever. Hey, it's Akita, right? I hear a familiar voice say to me friendly. I groan mentally, please don't talk to me. I slowly turn in my seat to face Kirishima before I stutter stupidly, it's Ijiro-san, right? Haha, no need to be so formal. Kirishima says with a laugh, we're classmates now. Kirishima is fine. I just want to kill him. Stop talking to me. I smile to him widely, sure. Kirishima. He starts striking up a conversation with me and yeah. And, that's true. Is all I basically say, and eventually he leaves me alone. I breathe a sigh of relief before I hear. No feet on the desks. This is not behavior of a UA hero in training. The blue-haired, rectangle glasses boy says, rebuking Bakugo, and I inwardly smile. Deserved. Yeah, well, UA obviously doesn't give a SHT about behavior if they let some F-control freak extra like you in. Bakugo snorts back, putting his other foot on his desk. I mentally roll my eyes and resist the urge to pull his chair back so it slips and he falls. I giggle out loud accidentally and Bakugo's eyes shoot to mine. And who the F are you? You extra. He curses at me. My name is Shinshinshi Akita. I say, stuttering and ducking my face like it's my special skill. Ugh, I hate this personality. You seem kind of familiar. Bakugo mutters before he shakes his head, TCH, must be another F annoying extra. I ignore him and start to inspect my other classmates, but I don't gather anything important as the door slams open and more kids file into the class and I lose track of who I was watching. Finally, after another 5 minutes, the door slams open again and in the middle of my observations a large yellow caterpillar inches into the room. Halfway through the door frame he rolls over and the class sees his face. Pro Hero Eraserhead was staring tiredly at us and he pulls himself up, sleeping bag and all, before leaning tiredly on his podium. Sit down. Shut up. Introduce yourselves and then be quiet again. Before he flops back down onto the ground again. The class is quiet for a couple of minutes until Ponytail Girl and Glasses Boy starts to introduce themselves. Hello everyone, my name is Momo Yayorozu. The girl says, my quirk is creation, it allows me to create anything I know the chemical composition of. So she must be smart. I wonder what the limits to her quirk were. Maybe the amount she produced depended on how many calories. My name is Tenya Ida, the Glasses Boy says, my brother is Ingenium and I have an engine or speed quirk like him too. There's a sparkly French boy named Yuga Aoyama with lasers that shoot out of his navel. An invisible Toru Hagakure. Minoru Mineta with a weird quirk of sticky hair. A tape dispenser Hanta Siro. Basically a human Pikachu or electricity generator Denki Kaminari. Skin hardening Ijiro Kirishima. Anti-gravity Achiko Uraraka. Explosions Katsuki Bakugo, nitroglycerin sweat substance detonation. Tentacle armed Mizo Shoji. Ice and fire. Shoto Todoroki. Sugar makes him stronger, Rikido Sato. Quiet but animal speaker, and bug. Koji Koda. Tail mutant Mashirayo Jiro. Dark shadow wielder Fumikage Tokoyami. Basically a frog Tsuyu Azui. Acid user Mina Ashido. And something that has to do with sounds and earphones Kyoka Jiro. My name is Shinshiro Akita and I have an enhancing quirk which greatly enhances my power and speed. I mutter quietly. With that everyone finished their introductions and we waited for Aizawa to wake up and instruct the class. Get on your hero costumes and meet me at the gym area. Aizawa says after he finally wakes up and rolls out of the classroom. The two leaders of our class, Momo and Ida, lead the class outside and besides the restrooms there are locker rooms for us. I pick a corner locker and use the door to shield my body as I quickly change. I hear a commotion going on and Mineta starts yelling. Finally we've been granted to see a girl's dash, he yells gleefully as he presses his face against a hole in the wall. Shoji's tentacles stretch and clamp an arm over Mineta's eyes and mouth. I feel anger growing in me as I slam my locker close and stalk towards Mineta. Mineta. I say, questioning him as I peel off Shoji's tentacles that are covering his eyes. I turn his towards me and I whisper in his ears, I hate people like you the most. I pull back and cheerfully smile, let's not act like this now, it's not a very heroic thing to do after all. My voice clips dangerously and I continue to stare down at him while smiling like I was the most innocent thing in the world. I guess. He stutters. People throw me grateful looks and I pretend to lose all confidence and rush out of the room. If this continues I might end up snapping and killing him. Chapter 5 Izuku's POV. When everyone's done changing, Ida and Momo once again become confident, extroverted leaders who guide us to the gym. I'm currently permanently cosplaying a cute, shy, lovable character. I'm the real winner of an acting award. Good you're all here. Aizawa says, standing before us without his sleeping bag. I know, a shocker. We all line up in an orderly fashion and this time I'm next to Ochiko and Kirishima, the pair of extroverts and optimists. This is going to get tiring if we're forced to talk to people around us. Maybe I should just kill them. I shove the thought away with a shake of my head. We'll be doing some light physical testing and whoever places last will be expelled. Aizawa says, and there's a murmur that rushes through the crowd. He makes Bakugo use his quirk to throw a baseball and it goes 706 meters. Uraraka notability gets infinite and I go with a safe 500 meters. Speed testing is next and Ida and Momo both get the highest, Ida with his engines and Momo creates a motorcycle. I place myself in the middle again. The grip test goes in the same manner with me carefully being in the middle and by the end of all the tests I come out with the very basic average of 9th place. Not too bad, I was aiming for worse but oh well. The purple-haired pervert is on the bottom and I wait excitedly for him to get expelled, but when Aizawa says he was just testing us I feel a flash of hot anger. Maybe I should just kill them all right now. I shake my head again, happy thoughts. Wow, that was so scary. I hear Hagakure say to the other girls who go off to sit together at lunch in the cafeteria. We were dismissed and then changed back into our school uniforms before the lunch bell ring. I know, right, I was so scared I was going to get expelled. Mina says dramatically. I've been invited by Kirishima to join his group and I joined just to torment Bakugo. I stay mostly silent and when I talk I pretend to be a shy, introvert. The conversation finally turns to missing friends and classmates from middle school and I lean forward and open my mouth like I'm about to speak. I then pause, close my mouth and then curl back inwards on myself as if I'm uncertain. As I expected, Kirishima takes the bait and he shushes the others. Shiro, Kaminari, stop yapping for a moment. I'm trying to hear what Akita has to say. It's not manly to ignore others. I pretend to smile gratefully at him before I shyly ask, do you guys have any childhood friends or really close friends? I mean, I've been homeschooled since I was a little kid, so I've never really had friends, so I'm just really curious. Everyone looks at me sympathetically and I see Bakugo flinch slightly and I cackle mentally. How does that sound? You're the one who told me to kill myself when I was 12 and then I really did go missing. How did that feel? What was your expression like? I mean, me and Mina went to the same high school. Kirishima, Kaminari, Shiro, and I were all good friends too. We've known each other since elementary school, not canon I don't think. What about you, Bakubro? Kirishima says, acting just the way I predicted. Probably something about being manly and including everyone. TCH, I don't need friends. He hisses, and don't call me that shitty hair. Oh, you don't have friends too? I ask excitedly like this was something to bond over. Were you homeschooled like me too? Really, Bakubro dash. Kaminari says teasingly, you don't have friends. Bakugo scowls, I'm not Bakubro and fine, I guess I do have friends. What about a childhood friend? I ask eagerly before sighing, I've always wanted to have one of those. I feel like bonds like that should never be broken after all. Tell us. The two idiots start chanting. TCH, I used to have one, Bakugo confesses. Kirishima frowns, what do you mean used to? Come on, share with us. He went missing. Bakugo says curtly, and I mentally celebrate. Ha. Izuku, like 3 Bakugo, oh I am sorry. Kirishima apologizes, I didn't know. Don't be, I giggle mentally. I'm doing just fine. Did you guys get along? If you don't mind me asking. I ask. They're childhood friends, of course they dash. Zero starts, but Bakugo cuts him off with a no. Oh. A complete victory for me. I finish up my lunch of katsudon and clean up my plates with the group before we return to class. The rest of school is all about learning and getting introduced to our other teachers like Present Mike, Midnight, Ectoplasm, Cementos, Snipe, etc. I finally get some decent sleep that night after studying up about hacking and ways to easily kill people along with the most recent quirk studies. The next day at school we spend most of the morning learning English, Japanese, science, history, and all other general education stuff. I'm not called on often and I daze out of class trying to catch some sleep because I've already studied all these materials. After a rather uneventful lunch where I ate a katsudon again, we are now introduced to All Might as a surprise. I almost threw up my lunch on the spot. I am here entering like a normal person. All Might shouts as he slides through the open door. I ask to use the restroom after muttering facts like I'm a fanboy, and people see my red face and probably think I got overexcited and need to calm down. All Might looks confused, but he excuses me. I rush to the restroom and slam open a stall before I throw up my lunch in the toilet. After gagging some more and spitting out some stomach acid, I flush the toilet and I wash my hands and rinse my face and gargle. I should have known better than to think I got over it. I clutch my stomach and remind myself that even if I was worthless like everyone was always telling me, I could just die whenever I wanted. But first I wanted others to suffer like I did. I repeat this over and over again in my head. You can die after you make them suffer. Make them suffer and then you can die. Hey Akita. Kirishima asks, stepping into the restroom after he knocks. I turn my head away because right now I probably looked like I wanted to murder someone. I calm down my breath and let a killing calm settle over my body before I twist my expression quickly into a smile. Hey man, are you okay? Kirishima asks. Yeah, why? I say. You're, crying a bit. Kirishima says. I pretend to be shocked as if I'm shocked. Really? Oh, I must have been so emotional after meeting my hero. You're a big fan of All Might, huh? Kirishima says with an easy smile. You wish. Yeah. Me too. Anyways, Aizawa-sensei told me to come tell you to change and we'll meet at ground beta. I change quickly into my hero costume along with the others and everyone moves a little quicker, excited by All Might's presence. Even Ice Queen Shoto was moving a little faster than normal. Kirishima was ranting about how manly All Might was while Kaminari was risking his life to tell Bakugo to hurry up. Shoji, Kota, Sato, and Tokoyami were all talking and Mineta was changing while shooting scared glances at me to make sure I wouldn't jump him like I did yesterday. Aoyama was screaming French words as usual and Ida was trying to get everyone out of the room. Finally organized, we leave the changing rooms where the girls have already been waiting for us outside. And there's the stereotype that it takes girls hours to get ready. Jiro says, rolling her eyes. I mean, we kind of do. Suyu says. No, because why does it actually take us so long? TVT, they're still slower than us. Pretty princesses. Mina says with a huff. All the girls laugh, high-fiving Mina, and we just stare at them. Chapter 6 Izuku's POV. Once we arrive at ground beta, the one that looks like a city, and All Might and Aizawa are waiting for us already in their costumes. Is that the Hero Silver 1Me Model 2 Pro Hero costume for All Might's second generation? I mutter to myself and my classmates once again shoot me weird glances. Izuku leads us to a street with a tall apartment building and ushers the class into a square box building on the opposing side. There are screens and monitors all over the walls and on the tables. They all depict images from inside a building, probably the inside of the apartment building on the opposite side. We are going to be doing a hero versus villain exercise. All Might shouts and Izuku rubs his eyes tiredly. Pay attention to what he has to say, problem children. You will be split up into pairs and then you will face each other. Off. There will be a villain team and a hero team fighting each other. The villain team will have 10 minutes to create a plan and lay down traps in the apartment to protect their bomb. The hero team will have 10 minutes to figure out how to touch the bomb or capture all the villains. As a villain you can win one of two ways. You can protect your bomb until the 15-minute timer runs out. Or 2, you can defeat the hero team completely. And the heroes, you can touch the bomb to deactivate it, or you can capture all the villains. Does that make sense? Any questions? All Might says. Interesting. It sounded boring in a way that made it sound fun. Ida raises his hand and All Might says, yes. We are all heroes in training, why must we pretend to be villains? Ida asks, confused. Izuku sighs and scans the class looking for a victim to pick. Can anyone answer that question? I raise my hand shyly. Time to act like a good little student. Yes, problem child. We could be training so that we can learn to interpret the way a villain thinks and use it against them. I say, pretending to be unconfident in my answer. Ha. As a villain I doubt any of you guys can guess what I'm thinking. Idiots. Yes, you are right. All Might shouts. Geez, tone it down. And we just need 2 opposing teams, so we chose hero and villain. Oh yeah, because villains are the creation of heroes and heroes are the creation of villains. Which came first, I wonder? Maybe the real antagonist was society. Thank you, that makes much more sense, Akita-kun. Ida says with his arm chops. I roll my eyes mentally and Izuku continues to yap about the assignment until we're finally drawing our pairs. I end up with the frog girl, U.S.J. We're the villain team and our opposing hero team is Bakugo and Kaminari. A fitting pairing if I think so myself. It'd be entertaining to beat Bakugo and his inflated ego. By the way, you guys might not care, but here are the pairings: villain Tokoyami and Kota Momo and Hagakure Kirishima and Aoyama Uraraka and Mina Akita and Tsuya hero team Todoroki and Mineta Ida and Shiro Jiro and Sato Ojiro and Shoji Bakugo and Kaminari. I watched the fight between Tokoyami's team and Todoroki's team. There's a lot of cheering going on from the class, but the match is basically over when Todoroki ices the entire building, or that's what an amateur would think. And clearly this class is an amateur, seeing how happily everyone is cheering. Dark Shadow appears and takes Todoroki by surprise while Kota builds an army of ants around the bomb. However, slimy little Mineta gets through the villain's defenses and manages to touch the bomb, resulting in a win for the heroes. I shrug. I expected Tokoyami to do a little better, seeing as how his quirk was a bit OP. Momo and Hagakure versus Ida and Shiro's match goes fast. Momo creates traps which tangles up Ida and Shiro is knocked out unconscious by Hagakure. So that made it a win for the villains. Jiro buzzes the entire building, but Aoyama manages to be useful and lasers her down, and Kirishima takes on Sato's strong hits and hits until Sato's sugar rush wears off. The villain teams wins again. Uraraka and Mina try their best, but Ojiro and Shoji are both strong in martial arts and reconnaissance, and they easily manage to touch the bomb, Shoji, while Ojiro catches both Uraraka and Mina. And finally it's my turn. After a lot of fake cheering, my voice is getting hoarse as Izuku tells me, Bakugo, Kaminari and Tsuyu, that it's our turn. Do you have a plan? I ask the frog girl and she says, the only thing I can think of is taking Kaminari out and trying our luck against Bakugo. Karo. So she thought Bakugo was stronger than her and me combined. I smirk. Try our chances against Bakugo. As if we're going to lose. Alright, fine. Can you take Kaminari and I'll try to do my best against Bakugo? I ask. Or do you want to fight Bakugo and I can fight Kaminari? We probably shouldn't fight together because that'll leave our bomb open to one of them getting through and touching it. I'll take Kaminari. He seems easier to defeat than Bakugo. Kero. Tsuyu says, I'm sorry I don't exactly have a combat-suited quirk, so the best way I can defeat Kaminari is by going invisible for a little bit and knocking him out. I don't think that'll work on Bakugo though, Kero. No, it's okay. I say with a simple smile, I'm fine with it, so we'll just go with that. Tsuyu nods. Alright, let's give it our all. I cheer, saying the most cringiest thing I can think of and dying of embarrassment on the inside. This is why heroes are so dumb. They have to say idiotic things 24. Let's. Tsuyu agrees. We split up in the building taking different floors and I pick the second while Tsuyu picks the first. Start. Aizawa says tiredly. I can hear Bakugo's explosions as he rushes into the building. They probably split up because Bakugo doesn't like working with anyone because of his inflated ego. I've placed the bomb in a little storage closet on the second floor with a camera in front of it. I sit on the second floor on the cold concrete and I have my computer open and am watching the security footage of the bomb. Oi! Bakugo shouts, blasting the door open. He points a finger at me, there you are, UF loser. I knew working with that idiot was a good choice. Surrender, UF extra. Or what? I say with an eye roll, pretending to settle into a villain personality. I let a dark smile slip through. Well, I'll obviously have to capture you by force if you don't comply, you idiot. Bakugo snaps. I've heard of that line before, it always sounds the same, I guess. Find something more creative, and I raise my hands into the air in a shrug and place on my most innocent look on my face, surrender me. Never. I say with a laugh as my innocent expression twists into a smirk. Fine, F force it is, you villain. Bakugo says with a tch. He comes at me with a right overhead punch as usual, it's been the same ever since we were kids. Months of underground fighting comes in hand as I dip under his strike like it's going in slow motion. I grab his wrist and pivot before I throw him easily onto the ground. I turn his winded body over to his stomach with a kick and I lock his hands up with a zip tie. Everything goes easily and smoothly on my side and Froppy comes in a couple of moments later and I'm scrolling online when she does. Bakugo was knocked out since he was shouting earlier and it was really annoying. I got Kaminari. Froppy says. I got Bakugo. I reply. Kero. She says, confused and shocked. Villains win. All Might announces. Surprisingly. I hear him mutter. Bakugo has crappy hearing, or he would have actually tried to kill me if he heard what All Might just said. I untie him quickly and stutter as if I'm nervous and shy, thank you for today. I really wanted to try and give it my all because that's what a hero does. Being a hero and having to act like this sounded so cringy. TCH, Bakugo says angrily. You got lucky this time, UF extra. He leaves and I smirk at his retreating figure happily. I can't believe they won. Is all I hear when I return to the building everyone is in. Chapter 7. I might post stuff on AO3 but for some reason I can't log back into my account. Does anyone know why that's happening? LMO. Other people's POV. Everyone leans forward and watches excitedly as the Akita vs Bakugo match starts. They watch Akita as he comfortably settles down into a seated position and started to use his computer. Wow, so casual, Zero mutters. Surprising. All Might mutters. He's very calm. It's manly. Kirishima says. Problem child. Aizawa sighs. Everyone has something to say and they watch as Bakugo eventually finds his way up to the second floor and to Akita's position and breaks down the door with an explosion. Oi. There you are, UF loser. I knew working with that idiot was a good choice. Surrender, UF extra. They hear the spiky blonde shout as they break down the door with an explosive hit. Language. Ida and All Might yells at the screen and everyone mentally face palms. The students who are actually pay attention and gasp when they see some sort of deadly calm settle over Akita and as he goes from a cinnamon roll to a villain persona. Or what? Akita says coldly. Well, I'll obviously have to capture you by force if you don't comply, you idiot. Bakugo snaps. I've heard of that line before, it always sounds the same, I guess. Find something more creative, and I raise my hands into the air in a shrug and place on my most innocent look on my face, surrender me. Never. Akita says with a cold smirk and some students shudder. Their cinnamon roll of a few days was gone, replaced by some sort of monster. Bakugo grits his teeth, fine F-force it is, you villain. Mina covers her eyes with a hand as she doesn't want to see Izuku die, and Mina and Shiro both say, R.I.P. Todoroki watches in shock as what he perceived to be his weak classmate dodge, catch, and flip one of the strongest students in their class easily. The audacious kick Akita delivers to flip over Bakugo to tie his wrists has Todoroki flinching. Wasn't this one of the most average students in their class? Where was he having this much power and skill? Everyone is shocked, and Tsuyu has successfully caught the air-headed and brain-shocked Kaminari easily, to which Mina and Jiro snickered. Villains win, All Might announces, quickly and easily. That was surprising, he mutters to himself. Well, guess what, he wasn't the only one surprised. No one expected Akita to be able to do whatever he just did. The poor boy thanked Bakugo and shyly said something about giving it his all as a hero. How did he do it? Was everyone's question. Izuku's POV, how did you do it? Everyone asks me once they learned that I could defeat probably what they thought as the mighty and invincible Bakugo. I stare at them all with a helpless stare before I break out into a stammer and say something about instincts and having beginner's luck. People look skeptical while some buy my story with an easy smile. It doesn't matter, because why would I ever decide to help the enemy get stronger? I mean, I am the villain after all. The exercise is called to a finish, and as I chat excitedly with Kirishima, Kaminari, Shiro, Jiro, Ochako, Tsuyu, Mina, and Hagakure about random things, I feel All Might's curious and wary gaze directed towards me. I let a bit of my crazy, insane, inner emotions surface for a quick second and creep into my eyes before I shut it off quickly like a tap of water and lock it all up internally before settling back into a calm, shy persona. We head back to our locker rooms to change back into our student school uniforms, and seeing Bakugo sulk like a little kid makes me cackle happily internally. Back in class, Aizawa pulls aside pairs to talk about their performances in the exercise while assigning a worksheet. When it's Tsuyu and my turn to get out results from Aizawa, he tells us, make a better plan next time and work better together. Other than that, you did a mildly decent job, problem children. Especially with that villain acting of yours. I feel euphoria fill my body at his words. It made me so happy that everyone was so dumb and naive. That villain acting wasn't even a quarter of my real personality, and of course I wasn't good at working together. I'm a villain. I work alone. Plan, on the other hand, I did have to downplay my intelligence so that I wouldn't be flagged by that rat Satan of UA. All in all, Aizawa's tips and comments made me more happy that I was succeeding more than failing. We're dismissed, and Kaminari and Bakugo get their talks, and then class is dismissed for the day. I return home after checking on the mailbox of the apartment, where I find a call to the underground ring as I have a new challenger. I didn't want to have my underground mail and challenge papers delivered directly to my address since that could be tracked, so I had changing locations of the people I'd killed. I return home before I open the letter and find that I have the name of my new challenger was, I need some chapstick. I smirk. This was getting interesting. I slip on some black sweatpants and a baggy black sweater with a black shirt with some random prints on it underneath that black sweater. I head to a building at the edge of the city, and just by knocking, someone opens the small slot to look outwards and recognizes my outfit and build before he flips a SWCH where the ground opens as if the earth was yawning. And the ground opens like a door to hell leading downwards. I walk down the stairs and hear the cheering before I even reach the bottom. There was clearly a match already going on. This was the UR, or the underground ring. Here you basically had to fight your way up to champion position where I was, and there you would occasionally be called upon to fight a fighter that was challenging for champion position. I got paid directly by the owner of the UR. And it honestly didn't really matter to me as long as I was getting money. It's the masked executioner. People whisper as I pass by the audience box. There's a mask secured firmly to my face. The owner of the ring finds me and tells me that I'm up in 2 matches from now. I lightly stretch as I wait for my turn. I used to be jittery with nerves when I was about to fight, but now I'm used to it and all I feel is a calm cover my body. I need some chapstick, was probably Shigaraki. A random villain I'd met one time when I was discarding a body. I'd looked behind me when I heard rustling, and at first I debated quickly killing him and discarding the body at the exact same spot. You need chapsticks, were the first words I said with a laugh that burst out. I was holding a knife in my hands and I followed those words with, "Do you want to die?" Shigaraki had held his hands up and introduced himself before he told me that he only wanted to recruit me for the LOV. Which apparently did not mean love, as Shigaraki didn't go to school so he couldn't spell it mean League of Villains. I declined back then because it sounded useless and boring. "Fine, if I beat you will you join my group?" Shigaraki asked me with a huff. I stand casually with a hand on my hip and knife in the air before my eyes glow a radioactive green. Beat me? I mean, I guess that's probably why he was here today. To try to beat me and get me to join his LOV. Sounded like a lot of work to me just to get me to join his little villain group. I know I'm probably a lot stronger than Shigaraki, but if he provided to be entertaining enough, then I might consider joining this League of Villains he was talking about. I'm up in the ring soon and Shigaraki is across from me in a casual outfit with a hand covering his face. I can still see his cracked lips though. "So if I beat you, you'll join the LOV, right?" Shigaraki calls out to me and I nod. "If I win, you have to get some chapsticks and lotion," I say sarcastically back, and he rolls his eyes. The ref blows the whistle and the match starts. Chapter 8 Izuku's POV. Shigaraki launches himself at me with a dash and I dodge his outstretched hand that is reaching towards my general direction and do a 360 whirl kick like I'm some sort of anime character. My kick connects with his side before it hooks and I slam him down onto the ground. The crowd has 2 types of people. There are people who laugh and there are the people who gasp in shock. Shigaraki is winded on the ground and I crouch down before him. "So what brand are we thinking?" I say, smirking, and he hissed annoyed as he tries to swipe at me with his hands. I flip backwards and patiently wait for Shigaraki to pick himself up off the ground before he comes towards me again, but this time he has some sort of curved angle. He jumps up before hurtling towards me from above, hand outreached again. I slide under his hand and grab his wrist gingerly, careful of not connecting with his fingers, and Shigaraki flips on his own without me having to go too much. Science. Smiley face. My eyes blur green as he slams down onto the sand. I quickly dash to his side before I knock him out. As much as I would like to keep playing, I can't afford getting injured and facing questions at school tomorrow. Yes, I plan to be a good student during my time at UA. It will lower those naive heroes' guards even further. And the winner is once again the masked executioner. The announcer announces and I stand up before I bow dramatically to the audience, and then I drag Shigaraki's limp body to the edge of the ring and then up a flight of stairs. Since I'm the champion of the ring currently, the owner let me have access to the champion room or my own personal room, and I drag Shigaraki all the way up. There onto the cough before I wash my hands and grab some coffee and an energy bar. I find some smelling salts somewhere and I find them in a cabinet filled with other drags and poisons along with a first aid kit. I shove those smelling salts under Shigaraki's nose and he splutters awake. I grin at his shocked and confused face and I say, "Wash up a bit, I had to drag your butt all the way up here and it was a lot of work, so you look crustier than normal." Shigaraki dully splashes his face with water and wipes a bit of the dust and sand off of his arms and body. I toss him a protein bar as he sits back down onto the couch with a grimace. "So I'm thinking like Cerave or Aveeno for your dry skin. And honestly, you might need a lip mask instead of chapsticks. By the way, if you're wondering, Lip masks have a bit more of an intense effect than chapsticks, and it looks like you might be needing that. And even that might be able to save you. I say, huffing a laugh as he looks at me annoyed. I throw a bottle of water at his face and he catches it and bites his protein bar before he takes a sip from the bottle. So I lost. Shigaraki says. Yep. I say, cheerfully, popping the pea, don't, you're not the first. In case you're like embarrassed or worried. Shigaraki sighs, I guess you won't be joining the LOV then, he says, trailing off. I smile as I lean forward, well, you've actually proven to be pretty entertaining. Shigaraki Tamura. I say as I pull off my mask with a relieved huff of breath, your dumb group has potential to be a lot of fun and entertaining for me. Shigaraki growls, so are you joining or are you not? Yes, I am. I say gleefully, I just don't want to do a lot of work though. So anyways, about your chapstick and skin care ideas, oh my god. Keep going on about my dry skin and I'll disintegrate yours so that we'll be matching. Shigaraki hisses and I smile innocently. But I beat you, he humps and finishes eating his protein bar. I guess I couldn't defeat a boss yet on this level, he mutters. Ha! What a gamer boy. I talk and annoy Shigaraki a bit more before I kick him out of the champion room and leave the UR myself to go home and be productive for a little bit. Time skips, school days go by slowly, and a week later there is a LOV meeting and I head to the bar where Shigaraki is sitting. I slide into a seat next to Shigaraki before glancing at his skin and lips. Still as cracked and crusty as ever. Oh come on, I complain half-heartedly, and to think I spent so much money to buy you such nice gifts. I'm actually using them. Shigaraki says with an eye roll. They're not helping too much. What would you like to drink, Izuku-kun? A dark misty figure asks me. Based on the description that Shigaraki had given me a week earlier, I assumed this must be Kurojiri. I'd also decided to share who I was to the LOV or these two only members. I mean, there wasn't exactly a good reason on why to lie about who I was. And there was no need to explain my backstory as they literally didn't care or pressure me into sharing. I'm an underage minor. I say with a monotone. Who kills people, Shigaraki says with a snicker, I'm sure you can handle an illegal drink. I elbow jab him, then what are you going to have? For your information, I'm, Shigaraki says, rolling his eyes again. Legal drinking age 18 in Japan, fine, I say, I'll have a matcha latte because I need caffeine. Oh, I'll have that too. Shigaraki says. Kurojiri starts making our drinks behind the bar and I turn to Shigaraki, twisting on the spinny bar stool. So what's up? You need a new brand recommendation. Or maybe you want some moisturizer or something. I say, cackling evilly. Shigaraki sighs and rubs his forehead, don't you think this cracked skin and lips joke is getting a little old? It will never get old. I promise, doubling over laughing. Anyways, we're planning to do a little attack on UA soon. I'm just debating when and where. Shigaraki says suddenly. A couple days ago there was an incident at UA with the media, the school, and All Might. It was all orchestrated by Shigaraki to distract the teachers and Nizu so that I could get some information downloaded from Nizu's computer during the chaos. We'd reviewed the data and information on the file I'd taken together and Shigaraki was finally making his move based on what I'd said. Side note. I say, getting distracted, and totally not related to what you're about to say, but we voted Tenya Ida to become our class president. But get this, I was voted most first and had to step down using the reporter incident and Ida's calmness under pressure as an excuse, so our plan was definitely great. Anyways, about your attack, where are you doing it? And for what purpose? And when? Shigaraki counts me as a part of LOV, but I considered myself as a member who basically allowed himself into the group but didn't want to do anything. When I told him that a couple of days ago, he told me if he needed help, he'd tell me, and if I wanted to help I could. Which worked pretty well for my lazy personality. Which is why I agreed to take Nizu's computer files, it sounded fun, and why I'm listening to this crusty man tell me his plan. Your class based on the schedule Nizu had on his computer is going to U.S.J as a surprise field trip. Shigaraki tells me, I plan to attack during that time and try to draw out All Might to U.S.J to kill him. How do you know that Nizu wouldn't notice that we hacked his computer and change his plans? I ask, crossing my arms. I don't, I just have to hope he hasn't noticed or actually believed that someone could hack his computer. Or 3 he could also be wondering who hacked and why they would need that information. Shigaraki says. So you want to kill All Might by attacking my class? Which will draw All Might out of UA and to U.S.J where you can attack him more easily. I say, tapping the straw to my lip, I'd received the drink a couple moments before and it tasted pretty good. I thank Kurojiri quickly and he nods stoically at me. So what do you need my help with? Shigaraki looks at me surprised. You'll actually help? I thought you're lazy but never did anything. Well, if you say it like that, I say, trailing off, and he shrugs, I mean, it sounds fun. So how much are you willing to help? Shigaraki says with a sigh. I don't want to do anything that'll blow my cover like kill All Might for you, although that does sound like a fun project. But my most fun and exciting project right now needs this cover as a UA student. So basically I'll do whatever I can do to help but not blow my cover. Good, because I had a feeling you'd say that and I prepared your role for you already. Shigaraki says. He pulls out a page with game tutorials like notes. Shigaraki, Mr. Krusty, you prepared something for the first time in your life? I ask, pretending to be shocked. Shigaraki huffs and throws the papers at me and I laugh as I catch them. I leave the bar quickly after that and head home before I start to read my roles. I smirk once I finish reading. I would basically just try to be as helpful as I can for the heroes, but at the same time I would also try to be really like restricting the heroes. For example, I would say that I could go help my classmate in one area and when I go I'd be more of an annoyance. Like I'd purposefully be a lot weaker than I actually was and hold back strong heroes so that they'd have to help me. Doing this should not blow my cover and it should also buy Shigaraki time to attack. Aizawa and a pro hero there too until All Might showed up. And if it went well I could also distract my classmates well enough that nobody could go and provide assistance to the hero of peace. Sounds like a lot of fun. My second role would be fueling Shigaraki with class and school information like schedules or quirk information, anything basically that could be useful for us. If I remember correctly, Nizu's plans was that the U.S.J surprise field trip would be in 2 days from now. I sigh, maybe I should get some sleep soon or maybe I'll kill some people. I stand up from my seat and stretch a little before heading out of the house. I used to focus and stalk the people I wanted to kill, but these days I honestly don't really care anymore. I'm usually bored after UA and have a lot of pent-up killing emotions. Literally every time I think I want to kill someone at school it ticks me off when I can't do it. So I've just been killing whoever I wanted because, well, it's fun. I climb up the side of a building and run across rooftops like I'm some sort of main character before I find easy people to kill throughout the city. Another difference between the way I kill people now and the way I used to kill people is the way I discarded bodies. I used to discard the bodies of my victims very cleanly. Whether it was burial, spreading body parts across the city, throwing them into a sea at high tide. Basically when high tide goes to low tide it's basically like a skiing or draining movement of the water and it'll move the body further out sea. But if you throw the body out in low tide the water will rush back up, fill up for high tide, and therefore the body has a pretty high chance of returning. There were a lot of different ways to discard bodies without anyone noticing. I.e. I guess feeding flesh and organs to animals, which is a bit gross to imagine, but you can pulverize the bone and recraft it into jewelry and sell it, or you can just scatter the bone parts. One guess. You can sell those, can be tracked back to you because of the DNA, so it depends on how risky you want to get. Now I just discard bodies wherever. People already know about me now and I've been debating if I need some sort of trademark to be more villain. Why, tonight I kill a guy and a couple of gang members along with this random lady hero. Chapter 9 Izuku's POV at school. The next day. Hey Akibro. Kirishima calls out to me in greeting as I step lightly into the classroom. Hey, I stammer as I slide into my seat in front of the red head. Sometimes on days like these when I lack the patience to act social, I wish I didn't befriend Kirishima so I wouldn't have to talk to someone. Shoto sends me a quick glance as usual, like he's trying to figure out a complicated puzzle, and Bakugo audibly tchs. Clearly I'm not a class favorite. Kaminari, Siro, Mina, Tsuyu, Hagakure, Jiro, and Ochako are all crowded around Kirishima, who is ever the social butterfly. Which makes me feel even more introverted than ever. The homework last night was so hard to do. Siro complains. There was homework. Kaminari says, gasping. Yeah, didn't you pay attention in class at all? Jiro says pointedly at her childhood friend, and Mina snorts, it's Kaminari, what do you expect? Everyone laughs good-naturedly and I laugh out of obligation. Aizawa enters the classroom perfectly punctual as usual, and the class settles down to listen to what he has to say. I don't miss the threatening glances thrown at me by Todoroki and Bakugo. They both want to fight me, but I pretend like I'm emotionally and socially blind and ignore them. And now we will have a spar training day. Aizawa says. I straighten up in my chair hurriedly, I daze out for 1 second in class, and this is what happens. I groan internally, already irritated, while I pretend to be happily shocked on the outside and pleased. Before that, turn in your homework please. Aizawa says, and Kaminari grumbles in defeat. Everyone passes their papers up before we are dismissed to go get changed into our hero costumes. My hero costume is basically just what I wear in my UR matches, without a mask but with glasses and my side bag that I always carry with me no matter what. Let's go to Gym Gamma, the one that looks like a normal school gym with a basketball-like court thing on the inside, Aizawa instructs, and we all follow him after we are done changing into our hero costumes. We all shuffle into the gym and Aizawa stands in front of us and instructs us on how the spar will go. You will all draw out a single piece of paper from a jar, and this is how we'll be deciding members. Every single one of you will be fighting 2 other of your classmates. One will be the name you draw and one will be the one who draws your name. He presents us with a box and goes down the line, having each of us draw out a slip of paper. As my luck is just perfect, I managed to draw Todoroki's name out of the box. Ida pulled Kaminari, who pulled Mina, who pulled me, who pulled Todoroki, who pulled Kirishima, who pulled Bakugo, and so on. Alright, Akita and Todoroki, you're up. Anything is allowed. My eyes brighten up at the idea of maybe death. Except killing or causing permanent injury to your opponent. I sigh regretfully in my head. I shouldn't have gotten so hopeful. Me and Todoroki set ourselves up opposing each other on the gym floor and prepare for our fight. Begin. Aizawa says calmly, and Todoroki starts circling around me. I inwardly grin at his lack of experience before I pretend to be confused myself and just follow his lead. I sense the air drop in temperature as an icicle shoots towards me at what he probably thought was a fast speed. My classmates gasp, but I dodge it smoothly, launching myself into the air and landing smoothly a safe distance away from the icicle. Todoroki grits his teeth and continues to shoot out more icicles, and I run in a circle around Todoroki, who keeps shooting icicles because that's literally all he can do. I'm basically playing him at this point. His quirk has to have a point of contact with something physical. It can't just branch off somewhere in space, it has to build from the ground, which means Todoroki can't just shoot ice shots at me. That meant I could just keep dodging like this, and since Todoroki knew my quirk enhanced my basic strengths, he wouldn't risk rushing at me, which meant that I could easily encircle him with his own icicles. As I expected, Todoroki also started freezing up due to his quirk drawback, and I look back at Aizawa-sensei to see if this counted as a win. The tired man just shrugs at me, and I take that as a no. Todoroki grits his teeth as he slowly freezes over. How? I stare at him in confusion. Really? His attacks were all ice-based, even though it was clear he could use both elements. That alone made it easy enough to figure out the rough estimate of his drawbacks, along with figure out a fighting pattern and how his quirk worked. It really didn't require a genius to do these kinds of things. Should I just kill him and rid the world of another idiot? I wonder. Maybe. Ugh. I resist the urge and instead crack my neck slightly before pushing up my glasses. Well, I stutter. Maybe you should get smarter and better. Maybe you can focus on your accuracy of attacks or freeze the whole ground or even use your fire side. I hear a couple of people snort behind me and Todoroki glares at me. I didn't want to have an easy fight, which is why I didn't freeze the whole ground. And I'll never use my left side. I mentally roll my eyes. Heroes are always going off about giving it their all, and fairness and equality, or how they want to work hard for their results or how they want to get stronger. Todoroki was clearly looking down on me if he thought that he wouldn't use all of his skills available to fight me. Clearly you don't have to be a strong hero to even try to save villains. You didn't want to have an easy fight. I say, tilting my head innocently, but my voice is slightly tinted with dark anger. Dumb, but a fight is never easy no matter how strong you are. A villain always uses whatever tools and hands they have to play to have the smoothest fight with the results they want. Kill him, my brain thinks again, but I try to ignore my intrusive thoughts. Nothing is ever going to be easy, Todoroki-kun. You have to do everything you can to end things quickly and efficiently. I say, smiling, and it looks innocent to everyone, but directed at Todoroki it looks a bit menacing and he instinctively flinches. If you're fighting someone stronger than you, you have to use everything you can for a complete victory. My words hit as intended as I glance meaningfully at his left side. I also implied that I was stronger than him in that sentence. You don't know anything about me. He hisses. How dare you try to tell me what to do? I half bow apologetically, not feeling sorry at all. I'm sorry, Todoroki-kun. He stands awkwardly before I dash forward, so fast that his eyes struggle to keep up with my movements. He sees me running towards him and puts a hand up to shoot another icicle at me. I smirk, he's too easy to read. I'm prepared for his obvious attack and I jump with a flip over Todoroki before I land smoothly with a twist behind him and knock him out with a chop to his neck. He drops unconscious and I catch him before lowering him gently to the ground. Some of my classmates are staring at me in awe and some with fear. Makes sense, I have defeated two of the strongest quirk users in our class. And wait till they find out I'm quirkless. Chapter 10 Izuku's POV. I pretend to mess with my hair and nervously push my glasses up as if they keep slipping. Recovery Girl is sighing from the sidelines as she heals Todoroki and gives him some chocolate to eat. He's silent and sulking from the moment he wakes up from getting knocked unconscious by me. The rest of my classmates' matches go by quickly and I don't bother to pay attention. Instead I clean my lenses of my glasses and pick at the dirt under my fingernails. Akita, Aizawa calls out and my head snaps up to attention and I pretend to blush furiously as if I've just been caught doing something I shouldn't have been doing. Something like not focusing in class. You're up, child, you're against Mina. I twitch slightly. I was picked by Mina. I guess it's an unlucky day for her. Kill her. My brain whispers and I mentally groan. Could I occasionally figure out different ways to occupy myself without thinking about killing people? I walk out to the little fighting area that Aizawa assigned to us and across the floor I can see Mina shaking. I almost smirk but I refrain as I don't want to look crazy and I don't want to mess up my character. I refrain to releasing only a slightly probably bone-chilling smile that no one else can see. She starts shaking even harder and I mentally laugh. Even if she tells other people that I gave her an extremely scary smile, I could always write it off to nerves and that I only smiled nicely to reassure her. Well, good luck, Mina-san. I say politely. Yeah, you too, I guess. She says back to me, her voice shaking. Begin. Aizawa calls from the sidelines. I launch myself at Mina not as fast as I can go, but she still flinches backwards and tries to dodge. I have a sheathed knife in my pocket and with enough force I could probably decapitate her. It looks like I summon the knife into my hand with how fast I draw it, and I hear a classmate mutter about the fight being unfair. How unfair would it be if I threw the knife at them and cut their hand off, I wonder. I twitch slightly and display excellent self-control once again as I resist the urge to attack the person. Mina flies backwards and throws some acid from her hands at me and I let it hit me a little to make it seem like I'm not that good of a fighter. She stares at me and her gaze grows slightly more confident. I dash in close and bash her head backward with the blunt side of my knife and it connects with her head before I fling her and she goes flying. She hits the wall with a thud and leaves a human-sized indent before she crumbles to the ground and Aizawa declares my win. My classmates rush to Mina's side and I follow in suit pretending to be scared of myself. What happened? I say, making sure to be just loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm so sorry, Mina. Sorry. I didn't know I was that strong. Sorry. This could plant the idea that I wasn't accustomed to using or fighting with my quirk. I continue repeating sorries at Mina's unconscious state as I help people lift her up and move to the sidelines so Recovery Girl can heal her. Kirishima nods at me before pulling me away from Mina's side gently. Recovery Girl will heal her and it's pretty manly for you to keep apologizing, but it's going to stress her out more when she wakes up. I shut up then and Bakugo appears behind me. TCH, you don't even know how to use your quirk. What was that, Bakugo? Quirk. I don't have one, and even so I still managed to beat you and Kaminari during the villain versus hero fights. Unfortunately for you, that was just my pure strength. I think, with a giggle added with a little bit of extra energy boosters. I will once again describe how this drag thing works. It enhances the amount of energy Izuku has to put out per the amount of work he gets out of it. So basically he gets a more efficient use of his energy and strength, and that would also increase his strength BC. The more energy he spends, the more strength he'll produce or the faster he'll get. Did that kind of make sense? It's either that or think of Shimmer's effects. It can anymore what I'm talking about. Lumfo. If I'd been trying to actually beat Mina, her head would have been gone by now and it'd be rolling somewhere, and all that'd be left of her was everything neck down. I smirk mentally. Recovery Girl tends to Mina while glaring at me slightly as if to say, why am I always treating so many injured people because of you? I gaze back at her innocently, making my eyes big and fearful as if I'm terrified of myself. She hoops and turns back to feeding the groggily awakened and sore Mina some chocolate. Stupid old lady. Hurt is clearly better than dead. She should be thanking me for saving all these people. I glare at her darkly and my eyes flash toxic green. The final parts of the training end smoothly and we are dismissed for lunch early. Mina has finally fully awakened and she's just sore and beat up but munching on some more chocolate. I'm already by her side apologizing in as many annoying ways I can think of before she tells me that really she was fine and that me apologizing so much was starting to make her feel bad. So I shut up with a happy smile internally. Kirishima orders his lunch ahead of me and I order a bowl of zaru udon. It's just cold udon with a dipping sauce and it's so good I recommend it, basically what Shoto gets with his soba but an udon version. I'm taking a break from my everyday katsudon and Kirishima notices but doesn't say anything, only glancing at me curiously. Oi, shitty extra. Bakugo says the moment we sit down at the usual lunch table where Shiro, Kaminari and him were already seated. Where's the usual katsudon? Good, he took the bait. Oh, I just decided to change things up today, I say with a small innocent smile. I mean, I've always really liked katsudon, but having to through the same thing, meal, every day is really not my thing. But that's basically what a routine is. Kaminari points out. True, I say with a shrug, I guess it just depends on how long you can stomach a routine and how bad it is. For me, I'm personally not really good with routines. Bakugo tchs and looks away. Good, he's taking my second bait. Why do you like katsudon? I ask Bakugo kindly, if so why don't you order it instead of the variety of meals you always pick? The third trap is laid and Bakugo flinches and says, no, are you sure? Kirishima teases. Yes. Go Kirishima. It's manly to say what's on your mind too. Maybe Bakugo secretly really likes katsudon. Shiro theorizes. Thank you my allies, this is the one time I do not find you annoying. Shut up UF extras, I don't like katsudon. Bakugo shouts and I smirk. Oh, that look of regret and despair. I happily take a bite of my udon. So worth resisting the urge to kill the class for a week. Whatever you say Bakubro. Kirishima says. If lying to yourself is what you consider manly. Clearly the others have noticed how the mention of katsudon has affected Bakugo. And it clearly should. It was my favorite food all throughout my life and I was always eating it. He would also steal my katsudon when he was stealing my lunches at school. One of the more mild ways he would choose to pick on me. What was that shitty hair? Bakugo shouts, standing up with a slam. I continue to sip my tea and watch the drama while hiding my smirk. I mean, it's pretty clear that you like katsudon and there's no need to think it's manly to try to deprive yourself of thighs you like. I mean, look at Akita, he likes katsudon and he's manly. I'm just saying you look quite emotional over katsudon, so if you really like it that much you can just manly accept it and go eat some. Kirishima points out and I mentally cheer. Throw some more fuel to the fire, and Bakugo, that despairing guilt-racked face of yours is indeed worth resisting the urge to kill our classmates. My F dead dash, Bakugo says, and he breathes in deeply to calm himself. No, my missing childhood friend, the one I told you guys about before he really liked that dish. Bakugo says, not staring at anyone. Oh, I didn't know that. I say with a shocked look, I'm so sorry. This weak personality I was playing was such a weak-hearted character. It was quite annoying. Childhood friend. Missing. Kaminari mutters to himself, isn't this the person you didn't get along with before? Why are you calling him a friend? What did he do to bother you so much? Exactly, tell us what this unmanly friend of yours did to make your relationship so bad. Especially if you're childhood friends. I'll protect you from him if he comes near you. Kirishima says. I laugh internally as Bakugo flinches. Oh, how you guys thought that I was the one in the wrong. Look at yourself, Bakugo. Will you be able to tell them that you bullied and suicide poor old me every day? Will you be able to tell your new friends that you may be the cause of me going missing? Although I wouldn't give yourself that much credit. I don't want to talk about it. Bakugo says. Oh, we're sorry. Kirishima says, it is pretty unmanly of us to keep pushing you when you don't want to talk about it and we don't know anything. Apologize to him. I cackle mentally. Look at him suffer. I hope you feel all the guilt in the world, Kaken, or I'll be so disappointed. Bakugo tchs weakly and looks away with a dark faraway look.